I was told that there are a variety of dam jokes that I could make today, but I'm going to refrain from that as not to offend anybody. It is beautiful today, and I've got to tell you, we couldn't have had a better day to do this dedication. I would like to welcome also my colleague, Council Member Janet Miller is here today. Do we have any other of my colleagues here that made it? No. So thank you all for being here as well. This project sits on the edge of my district, District 3, and one of my colleagues' districts, Councilman Jeff Blubaugh. I know, and I speak for both of us when I talk about the benefit and the beauty and the addition that this is to District 3 and District 4, but to this city as a whole. The first Lincoln Street Bridge was built back in 1970 with an inflatable dam beneath it. With the weather that we had just 2 years ago, I'm not sure that wouldn't have just floated away, 2 months after it was put in. Now, we have this dam today. Before this dam in 1976, they replaced the floating dam, and it is 45 years later now that we have this one that we're dedicating today. By the looks of this, one should note that this will probably exceed the lifetime of most of us here because of the quality and the engineering of it. We had quite a rain event that tested this dam and this project just 2 years ago, and thank goodness we did, because we filled up Cheney Lake and took care of our water woes, but it caused a few extra problems for us that delayed this dedication, but I think it's well worth it. This project involved many organizations, government agencies, and activist groups. I want to thank some of them today. Ark River Coalition, Greenway Alliance, Kansas Canoe and Kayak Association, residents of the South Central Neighborhood Association, and members of the South Central Improvement Alliance have all been involved in the planning of this to make their neighborhood in the city better. It is their beliefs and convictions about their community and their neighborhood that made this all possible. And now you can see just outside the front door of District 3, we have something just so beautiful to greet everybody. When the city first went to talk to these organizations about the new bridge going in, basically in their front yard, we were greeted with many questions and concerns and skepticism. I think today, looking at the structure, the view for them and the homeowners over here in the neighborhood, I think everyone's pretty happy. In Wichita, this is considered waterfront property. So I wouldn't try to buy any of these houses over there. Okay, I'm sure the price is skyrocketing. I want to thank the residents and neighbors in the area for their patience during this project. I hope you're pleased with the outcome and recognize this great asset every day when you look out your windows. As you all can see, the beauty in this bridge is not only the concrete and steel, but in the way the water flows underneath it and between its architecture. It's in the art and the colors, which I was skeptical about at first. This project has helped our river become more accessible and more natural, and it's an important part of the city's urban landscape. I know that we have kayakers over here that have been enjoying the kayak pass and the fish pass and everything that has been put into this project. It really is one of a kind. So I want to thank everyone involved again, especially those who were involved in building it and putting it together. Donlinger Construction, Tom Donlinger is here. Tom, this is just another example of your fingerprints on this city and those of the people that work with you. Thanks. I really appreciate your company and everybody who works for you guys. Give them a round of applause. And you couldn't construct something this wonderful without MKEC. And I see MKEC is here today and their engineering firm. Thank you very much for all the work that you put into this project as well. Absolutely. And so my long-winded speech is now over, and please enjoy the bridge. Thank you.
It's good to be here among friends, and today I just want to share a few thoughts about the recreational aspects of this project, as well as thanking some who really stepped up to the plate for this project. So today we're celebrating a milestone that over 10 years ago was a visionary of a lot of folks here in Wichita, and now it's finally come to fruition, making this river usable and passable for recreational use. Since 2008, the City of Wichita has been working with local and state communities groups to create a master plan, which is known as the Arkansas River Corridor Access Plan, or RCAP. So I'd like to thank a few folks from that group, which includes the Kansas Department of Parks and Tourism, the Arkansas River Coalition, the Reno County, Sedgwick County, Sumner County, City of Hutchinson, City of South Hutchinson, City of Derby, City of Oxford, and of course the City of Wichita. So a few things I just want to point out in regards to this critical piece of infrastructure, which is really kind of adding to the downtown ambiance and bringing more activities to downtown. We really want to make this a first-class city, and this really helps us determine that we are going over the edge, not over the edge of the dam with water, but over the edge in recreational opportunities. So most importantly, it gives our community today, of young and old, more opportunities for recreational activities. So I would like to thank everybody who even thought of this idea and dreamed this up. This is not just a typical project that you can dream up in a few minutes or a few days or a few hours, but it took a lot of planning. A lot of folks had to put their heads together and really come up with some vision for the future. Now, I wasn't here for that, and I get the opportunity to take advantage of other people's forethought. And so my job now is to make sure that we take good care of it, that we program it and get to use it. So I want to thank all those folks that put their minds together for this, and thank you very much. This is a great gift to the city. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here and help with the dedication of this wonderful project. Fish ladder and boat passage at the Lincoln Dam is a conservation success story made possible through the hard work of a number of individuals and a great local and state partnership. The construction of the fish ladder and boat passage was a collaborative effort. The City of Wichita provided the engineering. Additional funding came from a $500,000 U.S. Coast Guard grant administered by the Department of Wildlife, Parks and Tourism, and an additional $150,000 from the Department of Wildlife, Parks and Tourism. The 300-foot boat passage and fish ladder construction began March of 2011 and was completed in 2012. The Arkansas River has been an important resource and asset in the development of Wichita and Kansas. Like other natural resources, if we take care of it, the river will continue to be an important resource and benefit generations to come. When we consider our natural resources, it doesn't matter whether we're talking about trees, land, water, or fish. The key is sustainable use. In our nation's history, there have been numerous times that we have overused or misused a resource, jeopardizing not only the natural resource, but future generations' opportunity to benefit from it. To our nation's credit, there have been leaders and popular support at critical times to correct the affected natural resource. Teddy Roosevelt's championing of the natural forest, probably the most well-known. There have also been those lone voices over the years that have voiced concerns that have been unheeded. Some of those voices were right, and some of them were maybe wrong. And this is still the case today. The important part, or the important point of that, is we are having the discussion. We no longer think that our natural resources are so abundant that we don't need to worry about conservation or natural resource management. If you would permit me just a bit of Kansas history that I think is pertinent to why we were here today. Governor George Anthony had appointed as Kansas Commissioner of Fish. And even though the year was 1877, Commissioner Long had some fairly modern views. He wrote, "There is no reason why our numerous streams may not be as productive of wealth to our state as the fertile valleys through which they flow." That was 138 years ago. Advancing to more modern date, 1939, still 76 years ago, in one of our department's bulletins, in an article about Commissioner Long, the author wrote, "Many of Commissioner Long's worries were identical to our own. He sounds the warning that our streams must be kept free from impassable obstructions so that our fish may obey nature's gracious law in their increase and multiplications." The article goes on to say, "Many of the letters written to us today by modern disciples of Isaac Walton bemoan the dams in our streams and the absence of fish ladders in connection with them." And I'll remind you, that was written in 1939. I want to thank the city of Wichita, your leadership, employees, our department's employees, and anyone else that had a hand in this process, or this project. Commissioner Long and Isaac Walton would be proud. The Arkansas River is home to many native and rare fish species, some of which are listed on the threatened and/or endangered species list. These native fish may be small in size, but are an integral part to the ecosystem of our river. They depend on seasonal flows and connectivity of the river for migration, for spawning, and habitat. The old dam prevented the seasonal migration of these fishes, reducing the diversity of the fish population upstream. Additionally, the old dam required boaters to exit and portage around the dam. The new boat passage allows boaters to pass through. Paddling is one of the fastest growing outdoor recreational activities nationwide. Similar recreational kayaking and paddling on this river is growing in popularity as well. And this project, along with the continued support from the city, provides a valuable and sustainable resource for river recreation in Kansas. Wichita has obviously recognized the importance of the river to Wichita. With the development, activities, and celebrations along the river, the Lincoln Street project, however, is not just a benefit to Wichita, but the entire state of Kansas and the Arkansas River ecosystem. The more convenient opportunities we have for people to enjoy the outdoors, the more they will understand and appreciate the importance of our natural resources. And the easier it will be to conserve those natural resources for the benefit of future generations. To those that are concerned about more activity on the more remote stretches of this river and others, I would ask that you give them a chance. It has been my experience that the folks that enjoy paddling of all types are among the most environmentally conscious of our citizens. In most areas, just as they do here on the Ark, they have paddling trips where they pick up litter on and around the river. I would guess that many of the paddlers will be out tomorrow for the river cleanup. I am quite confident that the more paddlers we get on the river, the healthier it will become. The great thing about recreational water sports, it is a great economic driver, it is non-consumptive, and it creates awareness about our most important natural resource, water. Again, I'd like to thank the city of Wichita, and I'd like to thank all of you who came out today, and most particularly all those that had a part in this great project. Thank you.
As a person who was involved literally from day one with this project, from the very start when we were thinking about doing something out here through today, I can tell you I cannot be more elated to be standing here today. We've been through a lot of ups and downs. We've had a lot of stress along the way, a lot of sleepless nights. a lot of issues to work through, but I think obviously what you see today has really been a success story. As Councilmember Clendenin mentioned, the original bridge was built in 1970. The dam was directly underneath this bridge. Over time, that started presenting some problems from a maintenance standpoint. As both structures began to age, we were spend a lot more money on maintenance. We were having issues operating the dam, with it being an integral part of the bridge. So way back in 2003, we actually started looking at some preliminary concepts to do some work out here. We kind of put that on hold for lack of funding. We came back in 2007 when we hired MKEC and started taking a look in earnest of what we needed to do. We made the decision at that time. Chris Carrier, our former Public Works and Utilities Director, who I want to talk about here at the end of my speech, said, by gosh, if we're going to do this, let's do it right and let's separate the two structures. So that decision was made then. One of the things we knew right then is that we needed to get engaged with the regulatory agencies on this project. We deal with them on a lot of projects, but the rules become a lot different when you're working in the Arkansas River. We have a great partnership with those regulatory agencies. A lot of them are here today. Secretary Jennison. I gotta say, for the most part, we enjoy working with them. I will be honest and tell you, for the most part too, it becomes a pretty big headache at times. But I'll say again, we have a good partnership. We've come to work with a lot of them, and I especially want to thank them for everything they did for us on this project. When we first went and talked to them about moving the dam, this is a big deal. It has a huge impact on the river. We had one federal agency that initially said, no way, no chance, it's not going to happen. Once they saw that we were honest and sincere about what we were wanting to do, they sat down at the table with us. We spent a lot of time with a lot of communication talking about what we might do. So from an engineering standpoint, we're really good at designing and building bridges. We're good at designing and building roads. The things that we're used to doing. The first thing they said is, if you're going to move that dam, you've got to build a fish ladder. And you heard people talk about that. I had vaguely heard that term, had no clue what a fish ladder was. We're visualizing some way for the fish to climb out of the river, not having any idea where to even start. Again, KC, we kind of dove in with that. At one time, we had a design that had a fish ladder over here on the west bank, just a smaller facility by itself. As we started going through the public engagement process, we went to all 6 district advisory boards. We spent a lot of time talking to neighborhood associations who have been mentioned, adjacent property owners, all of those people that use and enjoy the river. And this idea came up about, hey, this dam is really an obstruction for people who want to use the river, the boaters and the kayakers. Why don't we find a way to try to get them through the dam? Pretty new idea for us too. So we started looking at the idea of the boat pass that you see on the East Bank today. We went through many iterations, talked to a lot of communities all over the country, did a lot of research, and to make a long story short, we ended up combining the boat pass and the fish ladder, as you see today. We've actually got a fish ladder on both sides of the boat pass. I want to mention real quick, one of the things we got the University of Illinois involved in the design of this project. They have a hydraulics lab. They created a scale model of the boat pass. They were able to model the flow through. Our primary goal was to make it safe for boaters, which I think we've done. We've seen a lot of use since the time that we had substantial completion of the project. That was really kind of a neat deal working with them. Big learning experience for all of us. That public engagement, that public involvement was huge. Again, we had so many people, I can't count the number of meetings and the people we had involved to try to do this. Jim Johnson is here somewhere. I wanted to recognize Jim real quick. He might be down on the river. Jim, we got engaged with as being a big boater and a kayaker in the community. He knows a lot of people. When we first started talking about this boat pass, he got all excited and thought we were going to build this whitewater rapids that these guys could come in here and race down. And so we had to kind of throttle it down from there because we want the general public to be able, the weekend boaters to be able to handle this too. And I think we've done a good job with that. This dam itself is not something that we build every day, especially the size of it, the complications, and the technical issues that go with it. We spent some time in Oklahoma City. If any of you are familiar with what Oklahoma City's done over the last 10 to 15 years, They took what was the old Canadian River, which is now the Oklahoma River. They built numerous dams and just made it a really unbelievable deal out of it. We went down and met with them, took some tours, saw what they did. That gave us a good head start on what we might do in designing and building a dam, and I think we really ended up with what we wanted. So these new structures are designed and built to last well over 60 years. As Councilmember Clendenin mentioned, it'll be past our lifetime. The boat pass, I can't make any guarantees. We think it's built well. We think it's going to work, but this is brand new for us. As you all are aware, we had a few problems as we started completing construction. We had some big rains. We spent the last year and a half making some repairs. We're confident with where we're at. I still drive by sometimes to our field office and close my eyes when I get here, just in case I don't see anything. But I think we're good. We've done a great job. Don Lear's been a great partner. We've had so many people involved. So with that, I want to thank a lot of people here. So bear with me. I'm going to go through a list as fast as I can. I apologize for anybody I leave out, but I want to acknowledge some people individually. Hold your applause until the end if you don't mind, so I'll try to go through. I want to thank City Council and the City Manager for supporting the project. We took up a lot of their time over the course of a lot of years going through a lot, different phases of this project, different alternatives, and they really were patient and bared with us. We had former council members, current council members, and we really appreciate their support in providing funding for the project. As was mentioned, we had a lot of neighborhood associations, the neighborhood themselves. I want to thank the traveling public. We had this bridge closed down to traffic for a long time. The school district had to reroute their buses. People who use this way to school and work every day had to change what they did in their daily lives, and we thank them for that. I mentioned the regulatory agencies that we had such good luck working with, and there were so many of them. They also provided some funding that I want to talk about. Kansas Department of Transportation, the Federal Highway Administration provided almost $5 million for the bridge itself. As was mentioned, we had $1.1 million in grants that came from the U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks, we had two people that we worked with through the course of this project that we could not have. And there's a lot of things that happen in times of year when you cannot work in the river. When it's spawning season for certain fish species, we had to really pay attention to what we were doing and when we were doing it. I don't know if David Bender is here. I don't think he is. David Bender is with Wildlife Parks and Tourism. He was a great partner of ours. I know Steve Degenhart worked a lot with him, and he's been a savior. And Jessica Mouse is here. Jessica, be recognized. Jessica was down here a lot during construction. She's still been down here working with us. Without her, we would have never made this work. She's provided some expertise, especially when it came to the boat pass and fish ladder and how the aquatics works for that. So thank you, Jessica, for everything that you did. Talk about our city staff. My former city engineer, Jim Armour, the guy that's sitting here in the front, I want to thank him for his leadership. And again, this was a long project. You can't what we went through getting to this point. We got excited at times once we thought, hey, we're going to do this boat pass and this fish ladder, and it's all new. And Jim did a great job of kind of reeling us, say, don't get too far ahead of yourself. And he helped us step back and take a closer look at a lot of things that help save money. And I Jim, so thank you. Steve Degenhart is our construction division manager. Greg Ballman was our project manager. And Chris Kuykendall was our project inspector. And Chris did a great job being our eyes and ears every single day. And I don't think Chris is here, but we certainly want to thank him. Scott Lindeback was supposed to be here today. I do not see him. He was our former stormwater engineer. Jim Hardesty is here now. Jim, thank you for everything that you do with helping keep this dam running and the maintenance. Scott played a really big part in this project and working us through when we were getting down to the end of building this dam, the operations of the dam, the logistics, the communications to make this dam work right. And he really played a big part in that. Our park department, our former director, Doug Cupper, who is now in Oklahoma City. Doug was a real champion for this project, and he helped keep this moving too. Jan Long is here. Jan, be recognized. She helped us with some of the funding. And I especially want to mention Larry Hootmer. Larry and I spent a lot of time together on this project. Larry was with us in this thing from the very start. He's still working with us to this day. Larry, I want to thank you personally for everything you've done to help us out, and I know it's really meant a lot to you. MKC Engineering was mentioned. Jay Angle Meyer is here. Kurt Yowell is here. Carl Savati is the bridge engineer. He could not be here. Jeff Gardner and Greg Allison, they could not be here, but MKC played a huge role in this. I'm going to come back and talk about that in just a minute. Kent Williams is here. Kent was our artist on the project. Everything you see today and how nice this project looks is because of Kent, and we appreciate the valuable input he had into this project. Donlinger and Sons was mentioned. I want to recognize Tom Donlinger. Nick Donlinger is not here. Nick spent a lot of time out on this project. Mark Wisner, Matt Enlow, Raymond Donlinger, Marty Donlinger. Thank you guys. Obviously, we couldn't have done this without you. I want to come back to three people real quick, and I want to have them stand up, whether you want to or not. And that's Steve Dagan, Jay Engelmeyer, and Mark Wisner, because I want to recognize the hardest division manager. And Steve had the primary oversight of getting this project built. Needless to say, this highly complex, really unique project, unlike anything we've ever done. Steve had the task of bringing the design together, getting it built, figuring out all the problems that we didn't get fixed along the way. I know he dealt with a lot of headaches, and I'm certain this project would not have got done. So Steve, thanks for all your efforts and everything you put into it. Mark Whitmer, with Donlinger & Sons Construction. Tom, just so you know, when I go start my own construction company, that's the first guy that I'm going to hire. So you better watch out. Yeah, and I will. Mark was down here every day, and I'm telling you, if you ever needed somebody to fix something or figure out what we needed to do, fix something, it was to go to Mark. Never seen anybody work so hard and be able to think on his feet and get things done like Mark did. And Mark, we appreciate everything you did for us. Last person I want to mention is Jay Engelmeyer. Jay was in this with me from the very start and still been in it with me today. Jay and I had a lot of sleepless nights, I'm sure, at the same time. A lot of the same heartburn, a lot of the agony from way back when we started this project. I guarantee you we would not be here today without Jay's efforts. He went above and beyond on a lot of things, trying to figure out some really complex parts of the project. He's the one that got the University of Illinois involved, which was a huge part of this. Jay, I thank you. I'm glad we're both here today. I know we talked numerous times about how we would never, ever get here, but we're here, and so congratulations on a job well done. So I'd like to congratulate these three especially. Last people I want to recognize, and I promise you I'm done, and we're going to move on with our ceremony. I mentioned Chris Carrier, our former Public Works and Utilities Director. Chris did so many things for this city. He loved what he did. He did so many things for our community. When it came to flood control and working in the river, he was a real champion for this project, and he pushed hard to keep this project on track. He stayed involved even with as busy as he was. Chris unfortunately passed away before he could even see this project started, but I know he was really proud to have gotten to the point where we're at. I wish Chris could be here with us today. Chris's wife, Sandra, is here. His son, Joe, is here. I want to recognize them and thank you for being here. Thank you for everything that Chris did for us, and I'm really glad you could join us today. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for everybody who had a part of this project. You all know what we did, what it took to get here.